You talk about, wanting to be an officer, and, this is not a sports question, but it's something that I've been curious about just watching the news. Like, what is your sense of what is going on in the private conversations with the majors and the lieutenant colonels, and currently, what is going on inside the American officer corps right now as we see sort of the military be politicized in a way that we never really have?
It's devastating. It's devastating because we have gone from a place where, in the military, we always believed in this idea that if a commander-in-chief makes a decision, even if I disagree with the decision, I always believe in the integrity and the reasons and the understanding of why the decision was made. And I can fundamentally disagree with it. And where we've never been embarrassed by the commander-in-chief in the decision-making, Secretary Hegseth and the president called all of our flag officers together and basically used it as a time to reprimand them, complain about their physical appearance, and then come up with this wacky doctrine. And I'm thinking to myself, these are people who have devoted their entire life to this country. The people who you just called to the auditorium to reprimand, by the way, these are people who, many of whom, have now been deployed for a good part of the last 20 years, have spent more time downrange than with their own families. These are people who swore an oath to this country and swore an oath to protect its people, who are now being reprimanded by a Secretary of Defense who, if I'm just being very honest, is the most unqualified person for that position that has ever been appointed in the history of this country. And so this is deeply frustrating for a lot of people, I think, both in the officer corps and in the non-commissioned officer corps, because we believe in this country. We believe in the oath that we took. I defended this country overseas when I led paratroopers in Afghanistan as a member of the 82nd Airborne Division. I would fight for this country tomorrow if I had the opportunity, and I will die knowing that this country is worth fighting for. I also know that when we're watching these decisions being made, that we don't even have clarity as to the why, what the objective is. And I think about it just in this, I'll take just the Iran conflict as one example. And I know you didn't ask the question, but take the Iran conflict as one example.
You kidding me? I got the best seat in the house.
But it's like, as soldiers, we always rely on three basic things whenever we are called to take on conflict, whenever we're called to defend this country. One, there is the hope that military force was the last resort, that before you decide to deploy our men and women and put them in harm's way, that you tried every other option before asking them to go take this on. The second thing is that there is a plan, an end game, and there is some type of operations order that we're all supposed to be following, and you understand not just what rules of engagement are, but what does success actually look like. And the third is that we're building a coalition of people who are going to be there to support us, and not just in military functions, because the reality is that the United States military is one of one. There is no military on planet Earth that is like us. If the United States military wants to get you, nobody on planet Earth is safe. We're that good. But that's also not good enough, because we understand that for every operation, there is a kinetic phase, and then there's a non-kinetic phase. And so the whole point of making sure that you have a coalition is not just about, can you execute a military operation? We can do that blindfolded and twice on Sunday if we need to, but it's what happens next. And do we have the coalition that's prepared to be able to accomplish a long-term mission? And so I think there is a tremendous amount of frustration amongst many people in the military ranks, many of my friends.
Yeah.
Because there is, the idea of professionalism and qualification and a fealty to the Constitution seems to be taking a secondary seat to this undying loyalty to a person, which is not what any of us signed up for, and that's not the oath that any of us took.